Okay, I'm back, and I was having some flickering problems there for a second. Okay, so I haven't done a whole lot more on Olaf, although I do have some exciting things about it. I did start to pattern the nose. The nose has the magnet in now, and I also have some interesting stuff I'm going to try for the twigs coming out of his head, and hopefully I can get both of them done today. So here we go. All right, there's the nose. Nose by any other name is a carrot. Okay, and there you go in there. So I just basically took a piece of scrap fleece, or 3 pieces of scrap fleece, and pinned it all the way around. I'm just going to mark both sides of it. Then I'll true it up. And there's a third piece back here. I'm going to put my registration marks on. It's more important just to have the registration marks on somewhere so that you can line everything else up again. But it's almost as equally important to make sure the 2 sides are significantly different. Like that's why I put a couple of double hatches next to each other sometimes, so that I don't accidentally put 2 rights together or put one on upside down, which can happen very easily. And it also will help you line everything up if you put them on. And I put the needle through so that they'll line up on the other side to see where it comes out. I can make a mark. I'm also going to mark the center line here. And the center line here. That magnet's pretty powerful. And I want to try and mirror them on this side as well, as best I can. Okay. Almost didn't get all that nose on there. Okay. So my live streams are going to change starting Tuesday. The next couple of Tuesdays I'm not going to be able to do. And then Thursdays and Fridays I won't be able to do either, because I'm going to be working 4 days a week for the next 6 weeks. And then I have 2 Tuesdays I can't do. So starting October, I'll be back to 3 days a week. But if I get sporadic, it's not that I've lost interest. It's that I just am busy. Too busy to share my knowledge. Hey, TC, how's it going? I love those pictures you sent. Okay, I'm gonna cut these guys out. So I think I'm going to paint on or mark on some just a second, let me get this done. I'm going to mark on some lines on this carrot once it's all covered in fleece. I'm going to do a couple of tests before I do anything, but there's kind of two ways I can do it. One is I can take a brown or black Sharpie and draw the lines on, and then dull them down with some alcohol. And then the other thing I can do is I can mask them off, which give you kind of a shaded line, or I can mask them off, and I have this floral spray paint. I think it's by Design Master, which I use on the Tilly puppets to give them the brown splotches or markings, and you can basically just spray paint the markings on there, but there's not an easy way to blend them in like you would with a Sharpie. So I'll show you both of those. Yeah. So how long does it take you? I mean, it's, sure it varies, but about how long do you spend on each puppet? I mean, I was amazed that you're able to get out 150 or so to sell at these conventions. Like I said, the most I've been able to do is 12. And I thought, boy, look at me. Okay, so I got all those done. I'm going to true it up. So I'm going to actually get the new computer coming up too. So on one of my off days, I'm going to set that all up and probably make a few changes around here a little bit with the quality of the videos, which would be great. But I'm also going to attempt to do some whatchamacallit, some pre-recorded edited videos as well. So this channel is going to evolve a little bit. So maybe all those days I'm going to have to take off, I can actually pepper in a few pre-recorded things. Okay, so I line up the center tick marks as best I can. Hey, Ethan, how's it going? Yeah, or at least the present. So it's not as important that these tick marks actually line up with each other. It's more important that you get the average of the two when you do it. And the reason I put this on the fold like this is so I can just cut them out at the same time. Oh, I forgot to do something. Okay. Average of each of these. Okay, so I'm gonna cut in between the two lines. They're so close to each other. I'm not gonna mark them with the black, but so that's gonna be the carrot top, the carrot end. Oh, what was the top and what was the bottom? So the pointy end's the top. There's the bottom. Today's the 12th. Only 75 more patterns to go. Hopefully the body will take less time than, I mean, there's a lot less details I have to do for the body, but there's a little bit more engineering I need to do. So I also have to get some more plastic. So I ran out, and I can do one eye, but who knows if I can find the same plastic I used for that one eye. So it's better just to wait. There's a place up in Burbank called Plastic Depot, which I've gone to a few times, and you can get real good deals on offcuts of plastic for a lot cheaper. It's just also I've got to drive up all the way to Burbank. But I think I'm going to do a little search to see if there's someplace like that closer to me. So hopefully I get that Monday. And then the head will be done, basically. So what are you up to, Ethan? You just finished a Kermit the Frog, didn't you? Was that you or was that somebody else? Okay, so I'm gonna line this up the best I can. Which is not at all. But if you drive up to Burbank, you can swing by a live taping of Laugh In, can't you? Probably. Beautiful downtown Burbank. This is Gary Owen saying, this is Gary Owen saying, this is laughing. It's funny that Gary Owens kind of started something. And I don't know if it was something that was before him, but I know a lot of people do it because of that show. And that is when they're doing the radio voice, they do this. And that's what he did. But he was miming that he had on earphones as he said it. And that was, this is Gary Owens. And that's kind of entered the popular consciousness that a lot of people, when they do the radio voice, do that just instinctually now. Fantastic. It says, yeah, finally got his eyes attached. Now he is finished now. Is that your first Kermit the Frog or your only Kermit the Frog? Seems like a lot of people build Kermit the Frog over and over and over again, which I understand. It's not like I haven't done that. Isn't it funny how some of these marks line up exactly and then others not at all? Okay, so I'm actually gonna mark these cuts. Stretch to go that way. Probably should label them the same way. I think I did the other one carrot. Carrot. Fabric. There's 2. All right. Oh, actually, it's my 5th one in the last 9 years. I was trying to perfect the patterns for each one. Unless something happens to this puppet, this is going to be my final Kermit. Well, I find that I think that's great, but I find that as I learn other techniques, it kind of helps inform me. And sometimes I want to go back and revisit old puppets just so that I can put the improvements I've learned on other puppets in. What'd you end up using for the mouth plate? Did you find some decent gasket rubber? Oh, and I want to mark the tops and the bottom of this too. This mouth plate is made from 1/16 inch neoprene rubber from a McMaster car, sandwiched between some felt for a bit of extra stability. How's it move? Does it move pretty close to the original? Thing I found about neoprene was that a lot of time it flexed in ways I didn't want it to flex. Like there's something about the Kermit the Frog mouth plate that allows it to curve like this differently than it curves like this. And what I usually found was that the mouths I did were rounded like this most of the time. And I wanted something that had a little bit more resistance going the other way. I don't know. Maybe it was something I was doing. I've only made a couple, but. So if you want to see how I did this, so there's it's foam. I drilled a hole. I super glued in a magnet, a rare earth magnet, the biggest one I had. And then I had a piece of metal that I think came with one of the magnets, and I super glued that over the end of it completely. So that way this whole thing is magnetized. See, because of that magnet. More so in the middle, but that'll give me them a bigger plate to stick this on, and it should keep it from popping out. At least that's my thoughts. Okay, so this is the bottom. This is the top. Okay. All right. So now, get rid of all this. You used Fazell, didn't you, for the green? So my big bucket of scrap fleece. So I got this big bin here. So I got this orange. And then I got this orange, which is what I used for, or reddish orange that I've used for Zoidberg. Then I have this orange, which I believe is F3, and I think this is Antron. So those are the two different oranges. I don't think I have enough to do this. Maybe just enough. I think I'll use this stuff just to get rid of it. Okay, the pre-dyed green. Cool. Let me make sure I have enough of this before I commit to anything. Stretch goes that way. 1, 2. Yeah, I have just enough on this piece to do it. So that's what we do. thought I had an orange pen. I guess not. Oh, I do. I can barely see it, but that's probably good enough. Yeah, I don't particularly like Fuzel, but I guess it's it's whatever you like. Hopefully there's enough orange there that I can see. Yeah, I can see that, no problem. I used Fuzel because I bought a bunch before I had ever heard of F3, so I still have a big backstock. No, I mean that's why I use Antron for a lot of stuff too. I mean, I actually like using F3 better than Antron these days. It's something like because of the scarcity of Antron, I always kind of feel like, it's almost like on Seinfeld. Is this sponge worthy? Is this worth using Antron on? Okay, I think I actually want the stretch to go this way. Should probably put it in a spot that's not going to do. Like if I had to put another carrot here, at least I could do it. I always tended to get really blotchy results on Antron, more so than I have on F3. And I understand a lot of people have the opposite problem, but it's definitely saved my bacon as far as dyeing goes. Okay, we're in business. Save that for another day. I'm cutting it at about a 45-degree angle with the fuzz size a little bit longer, if I can, and get away with it. Are you familiar with Fuzzell is a scam theory? If so, what do you know about it? Well, I remember there was that one video where I've never heard any first hand no, information about it, but there was a video that Adam did where he was talking about it in one of the live streams or whatever. And I remember him saying something along the lines of somebody there was just buying some fabric from China that you could buy for a lot cheaper, and he was marking it up and marketing it um, as something that was better, different than it was, um, and bumping up the price. I can't remember if that was the one that was like the loop side of Velcro, or if it was a different one. All I know is the Fuzzell that I used, the one time I used it, the stuff I was using was almost like a really thick blizzard fleece or polar fleece. And I had a lot of problems with it. If you brushed it a certain way, it suddenly started balling up and messing it all up. And it ruined a commission I was working on, to the point where he just basically had to buy some other stuff and have somebody else build it, because the seams were so incredibly easy to see. I had never bought any directly. I have to open up my thing because I did use. No, that wasn't Fuzzell. Was that Nyla fleece I'm thinking of? Because I think the same company was selling both. And of the two, I liked the one that was kind of like Velcro loop of the two. But I can't remember if that was Fuzzell or if that was Nyla fleece. Whatever it was garbage. Might have been Nyla fleece. Most people know not to tell me those secrets because I'll just tell everybody. Yeah, I think I was talking about Nyla fleece. I think Fuzzell was pretty good, but it did stick to everything. Like if you got Velcro on it, forget it. You just basically ruined it. And when I was in there getting the orange, I had a bag that was labeled Nyla fleece, and I know where that, or labeled Fuzzell, and I know that was the stuff I used on some Glee puppets, and it was fine. In fact, I used it on a lot of stuff, but. I'll tell you what I don't like about F3, it kind of rolls up on me all the time. Like I really see it when I'm doing mouth plates. One of these days I should probably try to sew a mouth plate in instead of gluing them. But on all the jobs I've worked on, I've never seen anybody use the sew method. Everybody's always used gluing. I think a lot of that is so that they can get back in there if they have to make repairs. Which I guess you could do with gluing it, with sewing it as well, but I don't know how you'd ever sew it back up. All right, so there's my pieces. Yeah. Okay. Is that what you used? That was the stuff you used? Fazell? Yeah, I've not heard that Fazell was a scam. What I had heard was that Nile fleece was a scam. I don't know if they said scam, but I made a dragon puppet, and on it had some parts of his body were F3. His whole body was F3. His belly was Fazell, and his wings and spines were Antron. So I thought that was almost like a a swatch wall of every type of fleece. Look at that! I put too much on the end. How's that happen? That side's okay. I make two of the same one. Rats. How did that happen? Okay, well, I think I have just enough to make one more. Maybe not. Nope. Nope. I think I have some more. Make sure that I do it the correct way. All right. I might as well make two of these carrots since I'm going to be making two Olafs. So. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think the thing that the one drawback I've seen over Antron is Antron didn't seem to roll as much when you cut it. You see how this is kind of getting all rolled up? Happens to me nonstop. The really old stuff was great because it was thicker too. So you didn't have to worry as much about bleed through from the pens. So I'm going to put this in my Olaf box. What? You don't have an Olaf box? but it does take dye much easier. No matter what people say. Yeah, some of it. They had two different weights of it. I've only used the 12 ounce. I think there was an 18 ounce or something like that that was thicker, but that was mainly used for like mascots. Okay. Curses, you saw me make a mistake. But you see, those tick marks actually helped me that time because otherwise I would have not realized it till I had it all pinned on there. Okay. I've noticed that people who sew their lip lines tend to be people who mainly learned puppet making. Yes, that's true. And like I said, I think, well, I mean, he had a big reach as far as like beginner exposure to puppets. So that makes sense that there'd be a lot of people who do that based on that. But I mean, in the video that I learned the most on early on, which was the one Pannenbrecher did, he glued his lip line. He used a hot glue gun, which I did for years. It wasn't until I started working with BJ that I started gluing it with, maybe even a little after. I got to get something to drink. Just a second. I mean, it gives you a lot more with a sewn lip line. You have a lot less opportunity to get glue on the mouth plate. but I don't trust that the lining that you glued in the mouth plate is completely secure. Like, especially when you only do it around the edges, I feel like it's just not gonna stay in place. But I don't know for a fact. I shouldn't make that judgment. There's a million ways to do everything. It's whatever works. I have never seen it online. It was a 2-video VHS tape. It was about 4 hours long, 2 hours apiece. And it was David Pannebrecker. I can't remember who he worked for. He had it was like Arm's Length or something like that was the name of his company. And he said that he studied with Kermit Love, and he since died, but he sold kits, a couple of different kits. One kit was an alien kit, another one was a human kit, and he basically went step by step, and he had all the patterns already cut out. I mean, all the patterns. He would send the kit as a pattern that you basically built along with the video. Now, I just bought the video because I could only afford $60 back then. And even that was tough. But it introduced me to a lot of concepts. Like, I had never heard of contact cement. I had never heard of different types of foam like L200 or reticulated foam. I'd never heard of gasket rubber. All that stuff was in his kit, and he talked about it and whatnot. But he also did some interesting things. Like, he didn't teach us any stitches. It was just machine sew this, machine sew that. There were no armatures in the hands. All he did was stuff them with polyfill all the way up to the hand, up to the arm, and he overstuffed the fingers so they would be stiff. But there's no armature in there at all. I don't think he had any system for arm rods, if I remember. And his patterns were very complicated. He didn't show how to pattern. All it was is about how to put together his patterns, which were, I think, another $120 just to get the patterns. So I basically just followed. I took copious notes. I know in one of my old sketchbooks, I freeze framed the VCR and copied down the way his body pattern worked. And it was amazingly complex. And the head pattern was too. The head pattern was a series of concentric circles that made basically a sphere. But it was all that was out there when I was first starting. That would have been about 96, 97. But no, I've never seen that online. I ended up giving it to a cartoonist friend of mine because I had moved on, and I only watched it the one time. But I don't know if he still has it or ever did anything with it. I've never seen him do the puppet, so I should ask him. Hey, you still got my video? I don't know that it was worth getting at this point. Like I said, it was mainly just so that people could figure out how to work his patterns. Oh, the other thing he did, which was interesting, was he made a neoprene strap. Oh, he was also the one that taught me about Sintra, the the sign material I use for mouths sometimes. He had some, and he said that, you could get it at sign shops, and often they would have cutoffs that they would let you have for cheap. I've never done that, but that's what he said. And what he would do is he would take, I'm going to have to draw a picture. So the way he did his mouth plates, which I did a variation of for a while. So what he would do is he would have his mouth plates, his two mouth plates, and in the mouth plate there were 4 holes drilled on one side. And I think there might have been 4 on the other. I think there were. So the mouth plates came like that, and then he would take a piece of L200 and he'd make this kind of a shape like that. He'd carve it with a razor blade, and then he would glue it right here. And then he put a piece of mouth rubber, gasket rubber here that was kind of crescent moon shaped. Okay. And then he would take a piece of neoprene, and it was cut like this. It had 4 holes in it. And then he would rivet the mouth strap over that. And then on the bottom, I think he did something similar. He had like another piece of L200 that he carved in a shape, and then he had a piece like this, and he would rivet in there. He'd flip the whole thing over. He'd put contact cement on one thing, and then he'd take a piece of velvet, and he would dab on very lightly to the backside some contact cement. I think he was using DAP weldwood in his videos, and he would dab it on, and then he's actually the guy I got the thing where he would say, if you think you put too much, you put just enough, because you didn't want it to bleed through. And he put glue on this thing, and then he would put it on there like so with the mouth grip on top of it, and then cut away the excess. There may have been a piece of, actually, you know what he did also? He also had the gaff tape. He would put it across on just one side though. And he'd have the piece of, this would be the edge of his table like this. And he would put the gaff tape on like this. And then he would have the other piece dangling over the side, and he would do it over. So that way it would fold correctly. And then he'd cut this whole thing out, and that would be how he made his mouth plates. And I never had access to the rivet thing. And there were these rivets where he had a little anvil with a little thing, and he put the 2 pieces of the rivet on there, and then he hit it with a hammer and a little chisel thing that set it, and would lay it flat on the inside, and it'd leave a little lump on the inside. And that was how he did his mouth plates. I never did that, but I remember every step of it. I mean, it's interesting to see how people do it. I mean, I do some of that stuff. Like the way I do my lower mouth plates usually is very similar to that still. But BJ did it that way too. I knew somebody that took a class with Pannebecker years ago, but I don't remember who that was. In the early days of puppets online. It was after Melon Pulse, so it must have been, around 97, 98, something like that. And I had that up until about 2008. So I had it about 10 years. I watched it one time. I wonder if on IMDb, I don't think that would be considered something that you would get on IMDb for. Yeah, his name was David Pannebecker. And he was a contemporary of like Nick Barone and those guys who were already professionals but on the web doing stuff to help the art. Gordon Smuter might have known him. Seems to me I talked to him about him at one point. Or knew of him. I just realized I've been sewing up the wrong edge. That's fine. I was gonna do the ladder stitch one on the bottom and the whip stitch on the top, so it would look a little bit better, but I don't care. I can't remember what type of rivets he was using. They weren't pop rivets. They were some other type. You had to use a hammer and it was almost like a grommet, like that little setup that a grommet has. And he didn't use the gasket rubber as gasket rubber. He used it just to give your finger a little resistance to hold on to while you're puppeteering. See, that's my semi-photographic memory in action right there. I can remember just about every detail of a video I watched one time, but I can't remember where I set my phone down. I'm going to go up around the tip and up the very front of his nose, and then I'm going to sew this back part in and then turn the whole thing. I remember his boy, everything keeps coming back to me about Pannebecker. I remember his the alien puppets. They might have even been ants. They look like this. We had like a fluffy neck. That was kind of what his main puppets look like. So if that's helpful to you in tracking down that video, let me know. Remember, I made a copy of it for a friend of mine, who then made a copy of it and sent it to Terry Angus. And Terry Angus said that he watched like 10 minutes of it and he was appalled that that Panda Becker was showing people to use a sewing machine on a professional puppet. I love that story. I got to start really working on this thing though. It's I just got notified or just got asked to make another head for another production, so another Olaf head. So in addition to 2 Svens, I'm also making 1.5 Olafs. Or just machine sew it. Starting to look like a carrot. I'm going to go up just like an inch because I'm afraid that if I turn it, number one, it'll be hard to turn, but I also am afraid that I won't be able to feed it all the way up in here, and I'll end up with a big empty section at the front of this thing. Yeah, this nose is it looks bigger than it is. It's only a foot long. That's a foot long. I don't know why I'm doing Pee Wee Herman today, but I guess I am. Oh, thank you about the congrats. I'm. It's gonna be a real stressful end of November. I'm gonna probably be doing like, I mean, I'll get the head and stuff on. Probably the head of Sven will be done on camera, and then the rest of them will be off camera, because with maybe just a couple of updates here and there showing the progress. But it's gonna get so big that there's nothing I can do on camera. And I can't wait around for, I'm basically gonna have to work around the clock to get all three of these things done, or four. I get 3.5 things done. Like, I don't anticipate the bodies taking very long. Maybe they will, but I feel like all the details on the head is taking forever. Maybe I'll put this on camera. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be doing a lot of, well, not necessarily. I'm going to do these ones I'm selling, and then I'm going to do a second set that I'm going to rent out. So I think we're going to see a lot of Maybe we won't, but I have a feeling there's going to be a little bit of a demand for these two puppets. This is my first time really dealing with rentals, so hopefully I don't get, ouch. Well, I just did a couple of Steve Troop bingo items. I was telling somebody about that the other day. I haven't done it in a while. But being stabbed in the finger is one of them. I did something else just recently. I say home stretch all the time, but I can't remember what the other one. Ouch. There's it go again. Well, that's still lining up, so that's the good news. This seam right here is not as, I don't think it's as important as the rest of it. Ouch. I've been watching a lot of videos online of different people patterning clothes or whatever. Um, and this one girl was talking about hand sewing. I only watched part of the video. It was probably a 15-minute video, 6 of which were talking about the importance of a thimble. How she went to like Colonial Pennsylvania or something to get her thimble. That lines up, which is good. I'm probably asking for trouble, but I'm going to do it anyway. I just want to tack those two edges together with this, so that way I know that it's not going to slip around on me too much. I'll back my way back. Are you getting more views on your YouTube or your Facebook these days? I'm getting okay views on Facebook. I don't think they watch it for very long, but there's about 195-ish people that watch some part of the videos every day. I don't know about YouTube, what the views are like. It's only like 9 or 10 people, but I have like 51-ish subscribers. The biggest part is I've been getting a lot of overflow work from you guys that are watching these things to get jobs they can't do and then have me recommend me, which is awesome. I appreciate it a lot. I've used the wrong side of fleece on a couple of puppets. Not for the full skin, but like for the inside of ears and for what else did I use it for? The inside of wings, like on Terry. So I did that, and I kind of like the texture, but boy, it shows every seam. You have to be real strategic with it. Here, as a little aside, let me show you something real quick. So I'll be right back. So when I was a kid, my brother and I both got this toy that we loved. It was a Fisher Price, I think it was an adventure set, and it was what we called the blue motorcycle set, because it came with, among other things, a blue motorcycle. Okay, which we loved. Okay, there's a couple other toys in here too. But the original, the coolest thing about this is, okay, so this was Fisher Price, who also at this time had the Muppet, the Muppet license, and they did the a Fisher-Price Kermit and the Fisher-Price Scooter. The Scooter was a doll. Kermit had a doll and a puppet. And they milled their own fleece for it, Antron. And it was the same stuff that they used on the Muppets for a while, because part of their deal was that they dyed and milled the fleece, and then Henson got a bunch of bolts of it, and they built Kermits and Scooters out of that forever. But along with this case, this little thing, came the carpeting, which I don't know if you can see this, but this is the same fabric that they used on Scooter, that they repurposed for this set. And it's very similar to what I'm using right now. So the Fisher-Price fleece versus I can see on camera. Even I can see on camera that this is a different color, but texture-wise, it's very similar. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. Comes with it comes with, this is Dean. This is Dean on his blue motorcycle. And then in the cab, we have Bill, the driver, who also uses the kayak. All right. And then I'm not going to take it out, but there's a whole parachute here that he also used. And you could put Bill or Dean on the... Who knew a Puppet podcast could have so much interesting stuff, right? You can put them on this, then throw them off a balcony or whatever and do it. And then Fisher-Price also made these other pieces and replacement characters that could add. Is he in here? Yeah. Then there was this guy. I feel like I've shown you this before. There was this guy that came with another set. Let's see. Okay, can you see him? This little guy. I used to call him Gilligan because I thought he looked like Gilligan. But anyway. So anyway, that's a little bit of Fisher-Price history, and the fact that I still have a toy that's pretty much. We used to play with these all the time, and it's still in pretty good shape. The elastic's all messed up, but it's still in pretty good shape for being, what, 40 some odd years, 45 years old. And now back to our regular program. Yeah, we love those. We play with those toys all the time. My brother had a set with a couple of different characters. It came with Dean and Bill. That's the only reason I remember their names. But we used to play in our back. We had this kind of dirt bank in our backyard, and we used to have all these adventures with them. And then there's a neighbor kid who came on. He came on here a couple of times, actually. And we always would play, and he didn't have any from that set. And so for his birthday, I got him a Chewbacca. And so Chewbacca would be Bigfoot on all of our adventures. And he would play in as well. When I was first getting into puppets, I thought, because I knew that story about Henson and Fisher-Price's deal. And I thought I should just track down like 100 of those sets. And then I could stitch them all together to make a scooter. Could you imagine a scooter made out of a patchwork of all those 2x3 swatches of fabric. Made a pretty good orange shag carpeting though for a motorhome. I can only imagine that they use that in many. I mean, we didn't have a lot of those different sets, but I imagine they show up in other sets of that era. They must have just had rolls and rolls of extra scooter fabric. Okay, home stretch. Oh, hey, Dennis. Oh, Dennis. I don't know why, but that joke used to always just floor the people at my one of my jobs. I used to always say, it was like a really bad Jack Benny. Oh, Rochester. And I don't remember what the context it was, but people just think that was the funniest thing. Well, I'm amazed this is all lining up as well as it is. Must be getting better at this. Almost ready to turn it. I should probably glue it right here. Maybe I will. Sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, I will. Okay. Put this over here. I'm just going to take it on faith that it fits. Put a little bit of glue. I'm just going to glue this panel to here. If it doesn't fit, I'll just fix it. I have faith. Well, to answer your question, yes. How do you do it? Yeah. Do I? Yeah, it was like this. Frank Nelson was awesome. I can't quite do it. I'll tell you. So I listened to the Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast for years, and I'm listening to the current one that they're doing, the Fun for All Ages, which is great as well. But they had Dick Cavett on there one time, and he was telling this story, and the story was that he was like he was on a talk show or he was doing something, and he was sitting around with a bunch of other people. I'm just waiting for that to dry. He was sitting around with a bunch of other people, and this page came up and says, "Oh, Mr. Cavett, would you like a cup of coffee?" And he didn't even think. He just looks up and he goes, "Do I?" And the page, who was younger than him, just got really quiet. And so he says, "Oh, sorry. There was this guy, Frank Nelson, that used to be on the Jack Benny program. It's probably before your time. He used to say that, and I was just trying to be funny." And he goes, "No, you don't understand. He's my father." And it turned out that the page was Frank Nelson Jr. that was working on him. And either he just died or he was, he might have been still alive at that time. But he just thought, what a weird coincidence to make that joke that, hardly anybody would get. And it turns out he was doing it to the son of the guy who created the thing. Try to line this up as best I can. That worked pretty well. I wrote a play when I was working at summer camp several years ago, and one of the characters was inspired by Frank Nelson. Of course, none of the kids knew that, but it's still quite funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, The Simpsons does a Frank Nelson joke every once in a while, which is amazing. I think a lot of people know who he is just from The Simpsons. It's probably out of fashion now, but my dad used to do a really good Rochester. He always thought he was so funny. Is that Eddie Albertson? Was that his name? Wasn't Eddie something? I first learned about Jack Benny because in the Jumping the Shark episode of Happy Days, there was a character who was the rich guy that Fonzie had was bet. Bet. There was the guy who bet Fonzie that he couldn't jump the shark, or it was the guy who was driving the boat. And he shows up to the beach wearing a bathrobe and an ascot, and somebody says, "What's with the outfit?" And somebody says, "Oh, he thinks he's Jack Benny." And then he goes, "Well," and I don't know what that was, and my dad had to explain who Jack Benny was to me in like 1977, so that I could get the joke, this one-off joke. And Ralph Malph was like, he's doing Jack Benny. I grew out of doing Jack Benny when I was 12. That didn't happen to me. And then years later, I watched a lot of the Jack Benny program. And then years later, actually, when I was watching Jack Benny, it was when it was on TBN. TBN used to have late at night blocks of vintage of old programming. They had Jack Benny, Dobie Gillis, which I was totally into because it was about Gilligan before he was on the island, and a couple other shows. Oh, Burns and Allen, and what was the other? There were four of them that we used to watch every night, and so that's where I really learned about him. But I really got into Dobie Gillis, and I was convinced for years that Dwayne Hickman, who was doing a Jack Benny impersonation, and then I read his biography, and turns out he was. He said he learned most of his comedic timing from watching Jack Benny, and he borrowed heavily from it. So if you watch him, sometimes he really does have that Jack Benny thing going on. What other puppet video show, puppet making YouTube channel talks about Jack Benny for 45 minutes? This is the type of conversations we would have while we were building puppets, though. We would talk about just the wildest stuff because we're just all sitting there, building stuff and sewing hours on end, and just the nonsense that we would go on and on about. We always said we should do a show based on some of the wild concepts that we came up with while we were building. We're probably all delirious from glue. Let's see. Eddie Anderson. Yeah, I was right. I have a pretty good memory when it comes to stuff I saw on TV. Nothing else. As evidenced by the fact that I can pretty much recite that entire David Pennebecker video to you. Okay, we're getting to the end of this. It's a little looser than I would have liked, but that's okay. Sorry, I'm not showing you. Am I going to run out of thread before I get to the end of it? You don't know because you can't see it. Okay. That wasn't so bad, was it? Okay, so there's his nose. I'm going to actually put some lines on it. I'll try and figure out how I'm going to do that. Let's see how he looks on Olaf here. Okay, so there he is. It still sticks. Doesn't stick real well though, such I was afraid of. Oh my gosh. Okay, so how am I gonna fix that? So the fabric is causing enough of a problem. I think what I'm gonna have to do, I think I'm gonna have to cut away a little bit of this fleece, but it's glued, so it shouldn't be a problem. And here goes nothing. Of course, it attaches right to the knife. Into the scissors. So these scissors are magnetized, and the end of the nose is magnetized, and I'm actually getting a negative, or a, what do you call it? It's pushing away from the scissors. Oh my gosh. I didn't think this was going to be the hardest part. All right, let's see if that sticks any better. It's still not real stuck. It's still not real tight. Yeah, if he moves it around too much, it's going to fall right off. They have a gag that they want to use with the nose sticking on there. All right, what can I do to make that stick better? Let's see. I may be stuck opening this up, and instead of having a washer here, have another magnet. I don't want to do that, but that might be my best option. Okay, I was finally able to buy some EVA foam balls from Stacy Gordon. Cut in half, they work well for finger grips. I also heat sealed it with a heat gun. I'm using it on my newest character. Yeah, I've used it for that too. I use it on all the Tilly puppets. What you call it? Eddie has those. Are his eyes are made out of that too. I don't know that I needed to heat seal it though. Will it take paint if you heat seal it? Okay, I'm at a loss for what to do on this. Let me see. I just want to make sure that if I do glue another magnet in here, if it's I want to make sure the poles are going the right way. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a problem. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, the needle sticks to it. Now the needle's magnetized. Okay, look at that. This is where it's. Okay, so that's stuck there. Okay. Oh, that's nice and sturdy. Okay, yeah. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to. That's nice and stiff. I wonder if the way to solve this is. I'll show you. I wonder if the way to solve this is that I put two of these magnets inside of here, and maybe I take out the metal part, or at least part of the metal part. Oh my gosh, that's stuck. Oh my gosh. There's no getting that off. Oh my gosh. Oh jeez. This is why I hate magnets. Oh my gosh. Okay, I got it off. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. Okay, took off the metal plate. Let's see if that. Yeah, that doesn't want to stick at all. So this is how I ruin Olaf's nose. It's just covered in super glue. Okay, before I do that, I have some thinner magnets. Let me see if that'll help. That's on there pretty good. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Mystery solved. So I'm just going to glue that in place, and that should solve that problem. Well, the metal was a good idea, but not going to be fun for this. All right, so what have we learned? Test the magnets before you put everything together. Yeah, okay. Well, cool. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to take a piece of scrap fleece. Do I have any scrap fleece? Yeah. So this is one option. This is one option for me. I'll zoom in on it. Oh, boy, I'll zoom in. Okay, so this is one option for this. Let's try with the black. I have some black here somewhere. I might have a brown too. Okay, here's red. Here's purple. That's either brown or purple, but it looks brown to me. Tell me in the comments what color it really is. Okay, so there's a line of that. There's a line of red. And there's a line of what I think is brown, which would be the shading that I would put on the. This is the alcohol swab. What I should be able to do is kind of blend that. I don't know if I like that. I think the brown might be the best bet. You can kind of get that airbrushy look. And you can layer it too. That looks good to me. Better than the black or the red. Okay, submitted for your approval, guys. What do you think? I mean, the other option is I can mask it off and I can just make lines with the floral paint, but the problem with that is I really can't blend it at all, and I don't have an airbrush, so that's don't even suggest that. But I think that's what I'm going to do. Should I just go for it? Maybe I should find a picture of Olaf to see how many of those he has. I know there should be one there. I think I'll put one there. There. Put one there. Another two there. Trying to give you guys plenty of time to talk me out of this. Okay, and then offset it. I'll put one right there, or two right there, I think. Two right there, or maybe just one right there. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Let's try it. Okay, let me know. Is this, before I do this, can somebody tell me, is that brown? Or is it light purple? Because as I've said on many occasions, I am colorblind. Or is it gray? What is that? Help me. Help me. It's blue. It's purple. I know. I thought I had an answer. Where's Dave Baker when I need him? It's not gray. Okay. Does it look brown? Like a light brown? And that's what it will look like when it's... Come on. Focus. That's what it'll look like on his right there. Right there. That's what it'll look like on his... I think that looks good. I can check my other pens, see if I have anything in there that's brown. I threw out a bunch of pens. I have a whole heap of others. It looks purple and brown at the same time. Well, that's brown. Or is that black? That looks brown to me. Okay, that's a contender. That looks brown. It looks black, but it's definitely lighter than the black. There's the black next to it. I think that's brown. Let's see. That looks as black as the black does. Just one swipe. That doesn't look too bad. Oh, you can't see it. I don't want to get these mixed up though, because I've got old pens and new pens. Okay. That's like a burgundy. The new set didn't come with a brown, or at least a dark brown. Why have I been cursed being colorblind? Maybe I can convince Eric to come over here and tell me what color something is. It's purple. That's the same color as that. I wish they would just write on the side. I mean, why is it so tough for them to write on the side? I think those are the same color, though. I think those are the same. Those are the same color, and they're both kind of a brown color. I think I'm going to go with this. At least I know it's brown. Okay. I think just one swipe, and then dulled with the alcohol swab. All right, we'll go with that. I'm tired of dealing with it. The nice thing is you can actually, I'll do it at the bottom here first. You can actually get most of it out with the alcohol swab if it's really bad. Oops, I just did it. I did it off camera. Let me get a clean alcohol swab. Yeah, I think it's about as good as it's going to get. I think it looks better, and I'm going to say it looks better in person, just so I kind of save face. But well, some of those look better than others, but nobody will ever see them, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. We'll call that done for now. All right. All right, so there's his nose. It looks bigger. Let's see. Like that. It's a pretty good schnoz on there. Might be too big. I'm not gonna worry about it. That's his bad eye, which I'll have a black line around. So I get the real ones. Okay, so the other thing, you thought that was going to be the only exciting thing besides talk about Rochester and old toys? 1 second. Get all this out of the way. The other thing that I had a revelation about the other day, or last night, were these. So what these are, I have not opened these yet, so I don't know if they're going to work or not. These are those fake craft branches that they have, which I can trim. But what I was thinking is, and they have wire in them, I was thinking this would be the way to do his little sprig up top. We could put a couple of those in there rather than having to make something. Let me see if I can cut it. Cut it down here. Oh, maybe not. Yes, I can. All right. So if I stick that in there, it's still a little long. It's getting there. I might be be a little still too long, but that's getting there. Let's see this other one. I think maybe I need to get a new one. I have 10 of these, so. So yeah, I think that's the way to do it. And the most fun part of every one of my videos is me poking a hole, taking a pair of scissors and poking a hole in a puppet. Everybody loves it. So I'll glue that in place. But one more. I had another one. Thought maybe that's it. Yeah, I think that's going to work great. I can still trim them a little bit if I want to. Cool. All right, let me put it over the other camera. There's our Olaf mock-up. Oh, where's his nose? All right, so that's where we're at right now. I'll get those eyes and eyebrows sorted out. The nose might still be a little too long. I might futz with the nose. Okay, guys. I think that's some pretty good progress for this. Gotta see it. There's his. Cool. All right, guys. I'll see you guys on Monday. I will probably do some more work on it over the weekend. So those sticks will be glued next time. I'll kind of show you that, and I'll probably have the eyes done, and I'll probably either have attached them or I'll attach them on Monday. And I'll probably figure out the body. Get that done on Monday. So, all right, I will see you guys on Monday. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.